If you've ever started a pivot, a career change, a business, a life shift, and felt like you just couldn't keep the momentum going, this one's for you. Because here's what happens all the time. We start strong, we're excited, we're clear on what we want, we make a plan, we take action, and then somewhere along the way, it just stalls. And the first thing we blame is ourselves. And we say, I'm not disciplined enough, I lost motivation, I just can't stay consistent. And I want to challenge that directly, because most of the time when a pivot fails, it's not a motivation problem, it's a process problem. And if you've been beating yourself up thinking that you're the issue, you're not. Let me show you what's actually happening. Let's start with the most common culprit, scope creep. Now, if you're not familiar with the project management language, scope creep is what happens when a project keeps growing and growing and growing without anyone noticing it until it's collapsed under its own weight. It's like when you start with one clear goal and then you keep adding to it on and on. Like, I'm gonna start a business. Then it becomes, I'm gonna start a business and build a website and launch on social media and create a full product line and set up email marketing and. You see what's happening? The original goal, start a business, is still there, but now it's buried under 15 other things that all feel urgent and important. And here's the thing. Every single one of those tasks is important, but when you try to do it all at once, there's no structure, no priority, no phases. So you don't make progress on any of them. You just get overwhelmed. And then what happens? You lose momentum. You start questioning yourself. You think, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I don't want it bad enough. But it was never about wanting it. It was about trying to carry too much at once. I'll give you a real life example from my own life. When I launched my keychain business, I was all in. I had the product, I had the vision, I was excited. But here's what I didn't account for: the logistics. My supplier is in China. The keychains are handmade, hand stained, they take time to create, and I didn't research fulfillment centers or build out a system to handle production. I couldn't scale. So what happened is I hit a wall because I didn't have the infrastructure to place support for the growth that I wanted, or time to consistently market. And that's a process gap. And once I could name it, and once I could see it as a logistical problem and not a personal flaw, I could actually do something about it. I paused, I stepped back, and I gave myself permission to figure it out without calling it quitting. I still plan to go back and grow that business, by the way, but I'm gonna go back with a better process, with clarity of what needs to happen first, second, third, not all at once. Here's the other thing that kills pivots: the myth of motivation. We've been sold this idea that if you really want something, you'll stay motivated. You wake up early every morning, fired up and ready to go. And if you don't feel that way, it must mean that you're not serious. Well, I think that's nonsense, because motivation is not a sustainable fuel source. It is a spark that gets you started in the beginning, but it's not what keeps you going. What keeps you going is structure, having milestones, accountability, knowing what done looks like for each phase, so you're not just spinning your wheels wondering if you're making progress. And I see it all the time. People say, I lost momentum. But when I ask, well, what were you working toward? What was the actual milestone? They don't even know the answer. I didn't. They were just doing stuff like I was, posting on social media, working on the website, tweaking the logo, all activity, no direction. That was me over and over and over again. And when you're moving without milestones, you can work really hard and you still feel like you're just getting nowhere, because you are working hard. Trust me, you're busy, but you're not progressing. Again, that was me. And that's when the voice kicked in. I'm not motivated enough. I don't have what it takes. But it's not motivation that we're missing, that you're missing. It's a roadmap. Here's what I learned from project management that completely changed how I approach pivots. I have a quick favor to ask you. If any of this resonates with you, hit the subscribe button. I would like to build something here for those of us that are trying to figure out what's next and trying to understand those pivots. The more of us having these conversations, I believe the better they'll be. That's it. Thank you. Every project has a phase, and each phase has a clear beginning, middle, and an end. You don't try to do everything at once, you break it down. So here's what that can look like. Phase 1, research and planning. What do I need to know before I start? Phase 2, build the foundation. Ask yourself, what's the minimum I need to get started? Phase 3, test and adjust. What's working, what's not? And phase 4, scale or pivot. Do I keep going or do I change directions? When you work in phases, you always know where you are, always. You know what you're working on right now. You know what comes next. And you know when a phase is done so you can actually celebrate progress instead of just feeling behind all the time. Now that structure is what keeps you moving when motivation fades, because it will fade, it always does, but the structure doesn't. So let me give you another example. Let's say that you're pivoting careers. You want to move from one industry to another. Now, most of us, self-included, approach it like this. I need to update my resume, build my LinkedIn, apply to jobs, network, take courses, get certifications, maybe start a side project to build experience. And we try to do them all at the same time, and then we wonder why we're exhausted and nothing's moving forward. It's natural because sometimes we feel desperate, and that's what we do. But if you treated it like a project, you can break it down into phases as well. So phase 1, research. What role exists in the industry that I want? What skills do they actually need? Who's hiring? Phase 2 would be build credibility. What's the one thing that I can do right now that proves I'm serious? Maybe it is a certification. Maybe it's a portfolio project. One thing. Phase 3, position yourself. Update the resume and LinkedIn based on what you learned in phase 1, not generic updates. Make them targeted. In phase 4, apply strategically, not shotgunning applications. That's what I did, it didn't work. Focus outreach to companies that align with what you're building. You see the difference? It's the same task, totally different structure, and that makes it manageable. Now here's the last thing I want to say about why pivots fail. A lot of times we don't give ourselves permission to adjust. We make a plan, we start executing, and then something doesn't work. But instead of adjusting the plan, we just keep pushing and pushing because we think that's what commitment looks like, right? That's what I thought. But in project management, we call that riding a failing project to the ground. And it's not noble, it's insufficient. Good managers adjust and reassess. They ask, is this still the right approach? Is this timeline realistic? Do I need to change scope? And they make the call to pivot within the pivot. And that's not failure like what we tell ourselves. That's smart decision making. So if you're in the middle of a pivot right now and something isn't working, give yourself permission to reassess. You're not quitting by doing that. You're managing your life project. So here's what I want you to take away from this. If your pivot has stalled, it's probably not because you're not motivated enough. It's not because you're not disciplined enough or you're not serious enough. It's probably because first, your scope, it got too big and you're trying to do everything at once. Or you don't have clear milestones and you can't see progress. Or you're waiting for motivation instead of building structure. And last, you haven't given yourself permission to adjust the plan. None of that is a character flaw. It's just a process issue. And process issues can be fixed. That's the good news. In the next video, I'm gonna walk you through the actual framework I use to structure a pivot, the 5 phases, what each one looks like, and how to know when you're done with one and ready to move on to the next. But for now, I just want you to stop blaming yourself. You're not failing. You're just working without a roadmap. And remember, that's fixable. Drop a comment, let me know, have you ever lost momentum or something and blame yourself for it? I wanna hear your story. If this helped you, please hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.